99 times is plenty. I actually thought the Pacers were headed that way. Oh, what a bad break.
Here's Sheppard for three. Hits with 3 and 9 hits.
Yeah, he got fouled too.
All right, Pacers fans, we are back for yet another episode of the Pacers Post Up. It's going to be a fun episode, I think. A little bit of a change of pace, something that Ryan and I both pay attention to. More Ryan than I, as I'm sure will become evident on this podcast episode. But last episode, we kind of previewed the season, just talking about win projections, where we see this team ending up, how the Eastern Conference is going to shake out, roster moves, things like that. So if you haven't listened to that, be sure to check it out. We're going to shift our focus here to some betting lines. Ryan's dug in here quite a bit and is going to kind of test my off-the-cuff knowledge, I suppose, just talking through some different things as it pertains to over-unders on wins and other things. I really don't know what's coming, so I don't want to mislead too much, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. We did something like this last season a little bit, and I thought I fared okay. Some of them I was way the hell off, but anyways, with that, Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you, kind of give us the lay of the land, and we'll get this thing rolling.
So before we even get to some of the, future bets of this season that we can look at, I actually wanted to take a step back and look at last season.
Okay.
So I took together and put together a few things where the Pacers went over-unders, but then we're going to start actually with the players. So I took and found a website that tracks basically all the players when they hit and miss their over-unders.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to do points, assists, rebounds, and three-pointers made. And so what I'm going to do is I have now, there's only a few qualified people, so you can't take in, basically, Ben Sheppard's the odd man out because they didn't have enough lines on him. He only had like 14 all last year when he made it into the books. So basically what I'll ask you is, for example, is going to be, of these players, Tyrese, Nembhard, Nesmith, Miles, TJ, Matherin, and Obi, I took out the guys who were traded, and Siakam didn't play enough games for us to qualify, basically, for how I was doing this. Who do you think of that list, and I can read it again if you need it, covered the point spread the most?
Their point
spread.
Okay.
So the line, it was ever moving. One day, let's just say, and I'm just going to go with Tyrese, not giving any signals. His line could have been 20 one day, and then 25 another game, and then 18, just depending on when it was in the season. But who covered the daily line the most?
Oh my goodness!
For points. This is impossible, by the way, anyone. It's more just there's no way I would have never gotten into these. Although I would have had just based on gambling some hunches. One guy in particular I think will surprise people.
All right, I'm going to give you two names. I'm just going to go total gut. Miles and TJ are the two that I would say.
TJ was one. Yes.
Was he?
It was a great guess. 63% of the time he covered his over-under last year.
Wow. Okay.
And I loved that because I think TJ was the one who I would have not to before I did this kind of thinking, just because I think Vegas underestimates him and has a hard time placing his line, and he's a guy who can explode on a lot of games.
For sure. That was my thought. I'm like, he probably had 8-point lines all the time, and he was over that quite a bit. So
now, who do you think was the lowest?
Oh, man.
And I will say this, it's not very close.
It's not close.
It's within a couple percent, but he's down there.
My gut tells me Tyrese.
It was Tyrese.
And that, to me, that feels very Vegas.
Yep.
Like it's just, because they're trying to get the people that don't watch Pacers basketball to bet the star.
Correct.
And so,
his stretch too after that hamstring
was brutal.
He was hitting the unders left and right. So just to give you kind of a vague idea, Tyrese covered it at 44% of the time. As again, TJ was at almost 64%. Nembhard, a close second, 62%.
Okay.
And Obi third at 61%. So those guys were the high coverers. The rest were typically in the 40s. Miles, 48. Nesmith, 46.
Okay. Well, I was way off on Miles, but I don't feel like I did terrible there. It doesn't totally surprise me as you get into more unknown guys that Vegas wouldn't be as dialed in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now on to assists. Same game.
Yeah.
Who covered the most?
I would say Nembhard.
Nembhard. Nemhard was, if I'm doing this quickly, third on the list. And it's very close. And this one you would have never guessed. And it might be misleading, but it really wasn't, because I looked at his numbers.
Yeah.
It was Obi Toppin.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Of course.
He was at 1.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 assists a game.
Now, I will say at 1.5, I tried to remove anybody from the odds if it was like minus 200 or something crazy, but his averages were still like minus 120, which is a typical Vegas odd.
Yeah.
Just quick glance. So, what do you think was the least?
Oh, Mike. I mean, I want to go Tyrese again. I'm not going to. So I would say Miles.
Miles was the least at 48%. This was a pretty close. Tyrese was right at 50, just under actually. Nemhard was at 54. I'm trying to see if anybody. Matherin was 53. McConnell was 53. Obviously, most of these numbers fall between like 53 and 47%.
Yeah, because Vegas is just, they're right there. Yep. So, it doesn't shock you. But, yeah, that passes the smell test with Turner.
So just 2 more, and then we'll start getting into the odds this year.
Yeah.
Rebounds, same idea.
Same idea on rebounds. Who hit it more?
This one's pretty tough.
I would say Neesmith.
Neesmith was the lowest.
Was he really?
41%.
Oh, wow. They were way off. So that's a big whiff. I have no idea.
Oh, sorry. Tyrese was the lowest at 40%. My apologies. But they're both right there.
Yeah.
We only had 2 people on this whole list who were covering more than we. So clearly Vegas was underestimating how bad we were at rebounding.
Yeah, correct.
So the 2 people were over TJ in second at 52% and Matherin at 1 at 53%.
Oh, wow. Okay, I would have never. I never would have got it with Ben.
No. It was a tough one. Last one, 3-pointers made. We have 2 high standouts in this, and then one. Oh my, who is? Oh, okay.
Can't be Tyrese. Yeah, Tyrese is probably at the bottom, or it's TJ.
It was TJ, but I'm not 35%. I forgot. I shouldn't have included that because he was the one where it was like half of one, and it was minus. Yeah, so
I would say Obi probably hit the over the most.
He was second. That's who I would have gone with.
Okay.
Nemhard, 61% of the time had the over on threes.
Well, they got sneakily better as the season went on. I mean, we talked about that a lot. Both of them were working with Jenny Buchik on shot form and trying to get more fluid. So that makes sense.
So just a couple things to take note on that. The key over guys were clearly TJ and Obi. So I'll go points, assists, rebounds, and 3-pointers made in order their percentages. Obi, 61%, 57%, 45% on rebounds, 57% on threes. TJ, 63%, 53%, 52%. We'll take threes out. And then Nemhard was right there with 62% on points and 54% on assists. And I'm going to stop just reading percentages because the listeners probably don't love this, but if you were a Vegas bettor on unders for Tyrese, you had a good year last year, which is crazy, but it's what you said with stars and certain things where money was, and I think his slump really, I bet if you took it pre-All-Star break or even pre-hamstring, splits, he's probably much higher, but didn't finish above 50% in any category. Only Pacer to do that.
Wow. Yep. All hammer the under on Halliburton.
Scratch that. Miles as well, actually. But his were closer. He had a couple 249s and a 48%. So he was right there. But he as well did not have anything above 50%.
Interesting. Hey guys, maybe you got a play for this year. A long range play here on a couple of our guys. Fade these guys, I guess.
And then 2 more on this team ones I wanted to do. Okay. So very quickly.
Yeah.
How much or what percentage of the time do you think we covered the spread?
Oh, I got to think about that. Covered the spread.
And if you want to guess, where do you think that ranked in the league?
I'm going to say we covered the spread 52% of the time.
56% of the time. 55.7 to be exact. Which
I knew they would underestimate us. Yeah. I would say that probably ranks, I don't know, in the top 10.
Oh, higher than that.
Is it really? Okay.
Third.
Is it really? Wow.
Percentage-wise, it ranks 6, but if you take out some of like the pushes, we covered third most in the league last year. Total covers. Yep.
Yeah.
And then what about over-unders hit?
Oh, fuck. I mean, we probably hit the over quite a bit. I would say Oh, man. Is it north of 60?
No,
okay.
Vegas caught on to the Pacers.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 54%, so
Okay.
even a little bit less, but fifth in the league. So
Wow.
we were
Yeah.
up there. If you were betting us to cover and us to go overs, you had another good year.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, 60 is absurd, but yeah.
Yeah.
It would be, that had to hit. I mean, nobody was really expecting what we did, particularly early. I would bet we probably were hitting it 60% in the first month.
Yeah. Again, hit those Hawks games.
Yeah.
So that was what I just wanted, a little fun recap of last year to kind of
I
get
love
just
that.
the mindset of this year gambling. I'm more of a game-to-game gambler than I am on futures and over-unders, but I did go through specifically DraftKings. I touched on FanDuel as well, as those seem to be the two most popular, and pulled some of just what's happening with Coach of the Year, Most Improved Player. There's a couple fun ones. I did want to make a note because I wanted to shit on DraftKings real quick. They had team specials. They had 27 teams. We were not one of them on the list.
Seriously?
Yeah. And I was trying to get the logic behind that because Vegas is interested in money. So I'm thinking that they did that because they didn't see value in putting it in there. But not all the states have gambling, and we do. We have to be somewhat on the list, that there's value in creating. I saw that and I was like, you got to be fucking shit.
It's just typical, though.
Yep.
It is. Unfortunately, it just is where we're at.
Yep. So let's start. Let's start with the big picture, and then we'll go into maybe some of the more nitpicky ones with the players. So we talked about this. DraftKings, as of yesterday, October 17th, had us at 46.5 wins. We talked about where we thought the win total was going to be. Let's just maybe briefly hit this. I would take the over on that if I was betting. I think it's going to be 47, 48, 49, but I think we will. I don't see us having a worse season.
I don't either. I think we're a better team than we were last year. Eastern Conference probably got marginally better, so that has to be factored in. But with 47 wins last year, I don't think we get to 50, but I think we're somewhere 47, 48, 49. That seems like the right range for us. And if it is 46.5, then you bet the over, and you hope that our continuity, the addition of Siakam for a full season, all of that ends up grinding us out an extra win or two.
Yep. They had us for a 50-win season plus 175. Thought there's a little action on that. I think that gives you money. I would say there's more of a likelihood than that happening than plus 175.
I think it's, again, talk about injury. We're deeper than most every team in this conference. So something happens. Brunson breaks a hand. Giannis hurts an ankle. We could absolutely eclipse 50. I'm not betting on that, but that money might entice somebody.
To make the playoffs, where do you think they had us?
To make the playoffs,
it's a heavy favorite, so I'll give you a little.
I would say, are you just talking like minus 250?
Minus 600.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, so
there is a top 7 that are all heavy favorites to make it, and then it's like a crapshoot, basically. And we kind of outlined that on our preview last podcast with the teams, and we got those all right in that sense. So I thought minus 600 was a lot there to be.
That's listen. It's probably right. It should be. We should. I said it last episode. We should not make the playoffs, barring something crazy. But this early in the season, minus 600.
Pretty good
with our injury history, and who knows? So
Now, with that said, for it being minus 600, we are plus only 130 to be in the play-in.
That's kind
of those odds don't really add up to me, because if you're in the play-in, it's a crapshoot at that point. I don't care if you have home court or whatever. So I thought that was a little bit interesting.
For sure it is.
To go in. I looked at only one and wanted to say, our seeding, where do you think they have us on the over-under seeding is? They have that. What do you think that number is? Not the gambling line, but where do you think they have us at?
I'm going to guess 5.5.
6.5.
Is it really? Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I thought I would have had it probably right around the 5.5, 6 range as well. I thought that was a little surprising. Again, being minus 600 to be in the playoffs, they're very confident that whoever that 7th team that falls into the play-in is a guaranteed lock against whoever they play.
Yeah.
Is basically what Vegas is saying.
Which is I know you get 2 chances being a 7th seed, right? Because if you're in that 7-8 game and you lose, you still get another chance. And to be fair, the 9 and 10 seeds in the East will probably be awful. Mm-hmm. but it's still one game.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, it is interesting.
All right, let's get to the fun one because this one's near and dear to my heart, the NBA Cup. Last year, I was able to fund my Vegas trip via these bets, a big one specifically on that Boston game where I laid a couple hundred that paid for my whole trip, so that was always fun, and we'll be doing a very similar bet. So they don't have a bet to make Vegas, unfortunately. So they have group winner and then overall winner. So what I would recommend, just giving my tips if you wanted to have a similar idea, if you wanted to pay for your Vegas trip, take the group winner, and then if we win the group, you double all that money down onto whoever we play to go to Vegas. Correct.
Yes. Yep.
You can take it because whoever it'll be a good team, and you'll likely get even odds, maybe even some plus odds on it to double down. So this one I probably won't make you guess on the group because it's pretty even straight. To win the group, we're plus 235.
Okay.
So there's 4 teams there. I think it's pretty good likely odds. I should have looked at this. I think I know it off the top of my head. It's Toronto.
Yep.
Pistons.
Yep.
Heat and Bucks.
And Bucks. Yep.
Okay. So I think we're better than, the 3 teams for sure. We'll see how the Heat try every year. They're always kind of the wild card. And we play well against the Bucks. So I like those odds.
Plus 235.
Plus 235 to win the group.
I think that's pretty strong, honestly.
28-1 to win the whole thing. If you want to get in on that action, which I'll probably sprinkle a little.
Do you know where was that relative to?
Most teams are pretty high. I think because they know the randomness of this.
Yeah.
I want to say, and I could probably look at it when I have you guess, we were right in like the 12 range for that. But I don't think any team had better than like 20-1 odds. Okay. So it wasn't anything.
And it is random. The pool play, the knockout, it's one game. Yeah. It's.
So this is the one, though, that I wanted. So they have the MVP of the Cup.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we're 28-1 to win it. But Tyrese is 50-1 to win that MVP.
Really?
I don't see why I wouldn't just take the 50-1 odds. The chances, maybe Siakam goes in, and that would be kind of a heartbreaker if you didn't just have the 28-1. But man, if we saw how much Tyrese loved that tournament, really was his coming out party that he continued going on the rest of the season. I think there will be, I'll be probably laying a little bit on all 3 of those lines, but I think 50-1's fun value.
Well, yeah, like you said, if we're going to win it all, the odds that Tyrese is the MVP are through the roof.
75. It's either going to be him or Siakam likely, and I would put it on a 75% chance. Maybe even that's low that it would be Tyrese.
And you're almost doubling your value.
Exactly.
At that point. Yeah. That is interesting. I wouldn't never have dug that deep to see that, but
yeah. So those were kind of the big ones, I would say, of the season. We're going to get into just a few of the player props. We don't have a ton, truthfully. Vegas, to shit on DraftKings again, I was looking, they had like a player to average 20 points, 25 points, 30 points.
Okay.
Nobody on the list. Not a single pacer ever cracked the list. And I was like, I just don't understand why they don't put the number, because they're losing money. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But nonetheless, we'll take what we could get from DraftKings. So we had a few with Tyrese that I found. Tyrese to average 10 plus assists a game. Where do you think that line was at?
This is a season line.
Season line.
And he averaged like 10.9 or something last year.
Yep.
Oh, man. I'm so torn. To me, it feels like it should be kind of a lock.
Yep.
I would say it's...
I'd say you're on the right track.
Yeah,
yep.
It's...
These are hard, people.
Minus 120?
Minus 350.
Is it really?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
I
So
think
they're
Vegas
very
has
confident.
a lot of confidence.
Okay.
I was surprised he wasn't number 1. Minus 340, so very close.
Yeah.
Trae Young had him.
Yeah.
Trae Young had him. With the loss of DeJounte Murray, I kind of get it, although, and I think I have this yes, I do. All right, so we'll get to it in a second. Well, let's just get to it now. To be the leader in the league of assists. Yeah.
Okay.
Which he was last year.
Yeah, that's got to be plus 125?
Plus 175.
Okay.
I thought that's fun value. Again, the problem and why I say I don't love betting on some of these futures is I want to bet right now and get the return. And so when the money's not in the account, it makes it a little harder when you got to wait for the whole season.
Yeah, you got to wait 6 months.
However, if you have the extra funds, that's one of my favorites, actually, because I think I think if he's healthy, he does it. Truthfully,
Yeah,
I like Trey, and I know that their offense is going to change with him. I still think Tyrese will lead the league.
No, if he's healthy,
Yeah.
I don't see any scenario where he doesn't lead the league.
Yep,
I
agreed.
really don't. Do you know what Trey's odds were to lead the league?
Trey was, well, that's funny. He was second at, I think, 185. So it was right there, too.
That's
but
strange.
Yeah.
That seems as contradictory.
As much as Vegas is dialed in, if you read anything on some of this is where you start to get this weird value, because a lot of these futures, not the over-under money lines, those are set by what they think's going to happen.
Yeah.
These can be set a little bit on where they think the money's going to go, how they go, because it's not an over-under, if that makes sense, because there's no flip side of it.
Yep.
So Tyrese to average 12 plus assists. We've had you guess a lot. This one's tough. Plus 550.
Oh,
Little there. If he really starts, I mean, for a while there, I think he was close to 12.
He was over 11 for sure.
Yeah, and so I thought that's a little juicy for a long-term bet. 14 if you really wanted to get 45 to 1 if you wanted to get crazy. Maybe he has a wild year.
I don't see that. That's Vegas is just looking for a sucker.
Yeah. But hey, 45 to 1.
Yeah.
It could be fun.
Yeah.
This is not a pacer bet. It's one I wanted to throw out there. It's horrible odds, but I thought it was kind of crazy. It's the only one that I found that really stood out.
Yeah.
Any team to start 5-0 minus 225. You get the
Really?
whole league? I thought about that. You put a couple $100 on that.
Yeah.
I just feel like one team's going to come out hot. I mean, you've got the whole league. One team to go 5-0. That's just something I'll probably watch, even though I won't put money on it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get into the awards. These, I don't know if we've had years where there have been some fun ones to choose. I will give my favorite of this list, but we'll go through it. These probably aren't worth guessing because they're crazy odds. None of them are below 80 to 1, basically.
Oh, okay.
Tyrese to win MVP, 100 to 1.
Okay.
If you wanted, if we were the 1 seed for some reason, maybe he gets a little action. I would say through 30 games last year is top 5.
He definitely was. I was looking at the odds at that time.
Mm-hmm. Then we had the most improved player, which would be the only other one I was really able to find odds on us. And there were 2 players that stood out. Oh, I'll get to 6 man, actually. I lied. 2 that stood out to me. Ben Matherin, 80 to 1.
Okay.
And my personal favorite.
I know where you're going.
Andrew Nemhard, 80 to 1.
Was he really? Wow.
The Andrew Nemhard argument for 80 to 1 and why I love it. And I'm here for the Matherin one too, because they both, Andrew Nemhard averaged, 10.5 points last year?
Yep.
God forbid, knock on wood, do any superstition you might have. If Tyrese were to go down, Nemhard could explode.
Yeah.
He could be up to 17, 18, 20 points a game if he really wanted to be. He'd be the lead guard on this team. His assist numbers would go through the roof. I think he was at 10-4. Could he be at 18-8? I mean, and be leading a good team, a playoff team potentially? Again, not hoping that happens by any means. And even if Tyrese is healthy, if he takes the leap that some of us Pacer fans think he's capable of and gets a little bit more usage, man, 80 to 1's juicy to me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised Nemhard isn't higher than Matherin on that list.
Yeah.
I think everybody is anticipating a major step. Where did that fall? I mean, was there anybody in the 50 to 60 to 1 range across the league?
I would. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it up.
That's
fast
all right.
enough,
That's
honestly.
okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. I just was curious who they were kind of. Because I assume for 6 man, you're going to see the Naz Reid, Malik Monk. I'm sure TJ hopefully cracked that list.
Yeah. Thankfully.
He wasn't on it all last year. I mean, I called it out 10 times. It's anyways, I don't mean to derail you.
Nope, you're good. That's exactly where we're going next anyway. So 6 man of the year. They were tied again. For some reason, they like putting the Pacers at the same odds.
Yeah.
We had TJ at 22 to 1.
Okay.
Love it. Just love it.
Yeah.
And Matherin, again, I'm here to hear it at 22 to 1 as well.
Yeah.
So
he was the funny thing about that, Ben led our team in bench scoring last year before, and TJ, I hate to say this, TJ's rise was really kind of happening as Ben was out of the lineup.
Yeah.
TJ played his best basketball without Matherin, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I don't find it totally strange that they have the same odds. Now, how they coincide, we've talked about that. We'll see. So,
Yep, only one more left for you. So we'll make this one short.
Yeah.
Rick Carlisle, 25-1.
Coach of the year.
Action there. Yep, coach of the year. Sorry. Again, kind of like that, just in the sense that if we're a top 3 seed in the East, and this is where, especially with these awards, heavily narrative driven, heavily, especially, and this is where we even talk, if we get off to an early start, a lot of those narratives carry over where people kind of forget and, blank out in the middle of the season. So if we can beat some of these big teams early and get a little buzz going, they love Rick.
Yeah.
The media loves Rick. The coaches love Rick.
they do.
If there was any reason to give him now, I don't think he's even close to the favorite, but I think 25-1 is
There's some value there.
Yeah.
There's some value because we have a team that could really do well in the regular season. I mean, we've seen it before. It's the Frank Vogel effect. I mean, Vogel is still getting coaching jobs based on what he did with us and the I guess pseudo championship in the bubble. I whatever. But yeah.
I actually had one more that I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
And most improved player, I laughed at dead last in most improved player. They put him on there.
Did they?
James Wiseman.
Oh my God.
250-1.
Wow.
So if you're a Wiseman lover, $1, you can be rich at the end of the season.
I would not bet.
Oh, no.
I mean,
as great as that would be, I mean, that means he had one hell of a year.
I don't see it for James. He's had some flashes in the preseason, but man, I think he's too raw. I think, we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? I wish him well.
Yep. So that was really it that I could find. There's probably some ones if you start going in and, diving into ESPN bet and points bet and all those, there might have been a few I missed, but those were the big ones I think we hit. I was going to do a bunch of gambling rules and I realized it's really hard to come up with before the season. I mean, I could say just do the Tyrese unders or something.
Yeah.
I only came up with 2 real ones.
Okay.
And the one I've said, bet the Pacers Hawks over. Or if you don't like betting against the Pacers, just take the Pacers team points over because they seem to just be lights shows on those games.
Yep.
And our personal favorite probably is if the opposing team has a very large big man, a Zach Edey, a what used to be the Valanciunas and Steven Adams rule, a Joel Embiid, just take their rebounds. It feels like they always get 15 or 20.
Every time. Zubac, I mean, if he's playing, you might as well just lock it. Drummond, I mean, any of these guys that we've seen over the years, that will happen. Ryan, it's funny you say that. I don't even know what the guy's name was last night, but Jeff and I looked up at the box score about midway through the fourth quarter, and some guy I'd never heard of had 14 rebounds. And I'm like, it never fails.
Yep.
It never fails. So that is the best bet on any Pacers opponent.
If I could, I might even try to find this just for my own curiosity. I would love to know what opposing starting centers, the percentage game I did at the very beginning of the podcast, what that hit. My gut would be at 60% or more.
It might be. Yeah. That's a tease, and maybe if you do that research, we'll bring that to bear here on this podcast. But that was a lot of fun. I mean, I think at the end of the day, gambling's not going anywhere. No. So it's a lot of fun to look at this team through that lens and how. I mean, it's a total slap in the face to not have us on some of those prop. But it doesn't surprise me. It's a lot of fun, and you know what? What we'll probably do. Take a note of this. We'll maybe do a check-in. Quarter of the way into the season, where are we at? How have the lines moved on some of these? Whether it's awards or over/under win totals, the 6.5 on the playoff seeding. That to me, I'll be curious where that's at in another month or two from now. So, a lot of fun. And listen, next time we get on the mic, we'll have Pacers basketball to talk about. So, look forward to that, and we'll talk at you guys soon.